This week's Parsha begins with a very powerful message about the religious experience. The Parsha begins, Vayikra el Moshe. God calls upon Moshe. In Chazal, in just this short phrase, not even a phrase, but a word, Vayikra, see a historic distinction of two personalities, that of Moshe and that of Bilam. The first, Moshe, comes in this week's Parsha, Vayikra el Moshe, and God called upon Moshe. And the second, in Bamidbar, in Perek Chaf Gimel, Pasuk Dalid, where the Torah says, Vayikar Elokim et Bilam, and God met and God encountered Bilam. And I'd like to suggest that these two distinctions of Vayikra and Vayikar have to do with the different attitudes that Moshe and Bilam had toward the religious experiences. And to sharpen this even more, the Midrash in Vayikra explains and describes the language used, the Vayikra and Vayikar. And by Moshe, the language of the Midrash reads, Lashon Chiba, it was a language of warmth, of love. Lashon Zeruz, a language of activization, of inspiration. And Lashon Shemalchei Shareit Mishtamshim Bo, and a language that the ministering angels use. While in contrast, Bilam is described, or the language that accompanies the Bilam story is Lashon Arai, a language of casualness, of temporariness. Lashon Ganai, a language of shame, a language of disgrace. And Lashon Tuma, a language of impurity. And I'd like to suggest a few different approaches to this historic contrast that I read in an essay by Rabbi Norman Lim. The first approach, the first distinction, is the way that Moshe and Bilam internalized their religious encounter. Moshe sees his religious encounter as divinely ordained, as divinely willed. And therefore, Moshe sees this Vayikra, this call, as a godly calling, a call to action, Lashon Zeruz, of activization and inspiration. While Bilam, he merely sees this as happenstance, as casualness. He just met God, the same way that anyone would meet somebody else in line at a coffee shop. And so the distinction between Vayikra and Vayikar in these two experiences is the way that they internalize their messages. Now, the second approach, which I think is a build-up from the first one, is the way that Moshe and Bilam approach opportunities. The first approach, the approach of Moshe, is approach of internalization of experience. And if you internalize experiences and they are divinely ordained, then what the next logical step is that you're supposed to grow from those experiences, and that you're supposed to use those experiences in order to serve other people in your community and outside of your community in the global world. While Bilam, who doesn't share the same perspective of the divine hand in history, and who doesn't believe in internalizing an encounter with God in the same way that Moshe does, he just sadly sees an opportunity and lets it pass. He doesn't take a risk, he doesn't take a chance, because he doesn't see any potential. And we see this even clearer in the stories of Moshe and Bilam. When Moshe sees two Jews fighting in Mitzrayim, he sees this as a calling, as an opportunity for him to share with the world, share with these two Jews, his perspective on social justice, on making sure that both Jews recognize their dignity in who they are. And in the second story, in the second time we see Moshe, he's in Midian. And what is he doing? He's defending the daughter of Yitro, who is being attacked, who's being overwhelmed, who's being challenged by the shepherds in Midian. And Moshe stands up for the vulnerable. As Rabbi Soloveitchik says in his essay, The Community, a person who recognizes others must show commitment. And the way that he shows commitment to others is by constricting himself, by limiting himself in order to share with another. And in the third encounter of Moshe with Hashem, we see his leadership grow even more. When Moshe encounters the sneh, the burning bush, he doesn't just see it as a casual experience, but he sees it as a divine event that he's meant to take something away from. And when he stops, it is at that moment where Moshe becomes the leader of the Jewish people. And we see in our Parsha, where we begin Vayikra and God called out, that Moshe takes that step to serve the Jewish people, to act as a connection, a bridge between God and the Jewish people. Whereas Bilam, he doesn't internalize his prophetic experience with God the same way. And when Bilam exits his prophecy, he goes and befriends Balak, the pagan king, who isn't known for his connection with divine or any type of higher ethical perspective. And therefore, he doesn't take advantage of the opportunity that he has to share his divine prophecy with the non-Jewish nations. Because that was something that was uncommon, to believe in opportunity as a chance for growth, for a chance of service to others. And the third approach of this contrast between Moshe and Bilam in this Vayikra and Vayikar encounter is one of meaning. Moshe sees every opportunity, every event as a chance for meaning, of something beyond himself. And therefore, when he sees a challenge and he sees something difficult in his way, he's able to overcome because he recognizes that there's something greater and there's something beyond. He has this, as the Midrash describes, lashon chiba, a feeling of the language. The Midrash uses the language of warmth, of love that Moshe feels, as opposed to Bilam, who doesn't have that same feeling, where the Midrash describes as lashon tameh. Bilam can't explain and can't understand why things happen and why events occur, and can't take advantage of the opportunities. And therefore, even in his most joyous occasions, when he is elated, when he is having a especially unique time, he's unable to take anything more out of that experience, because for him, hakol heva, everything is nothingness. And what we should take out of these two important historical personalities and these two different approaches to the religious experience is that we should try to interpret and internalize the different events and opportunities in our lives in order to shape who we are, in order to grow ourselves, and in order to help others. Shabbat Shalom.